A child accidentally ends up in the world of monsters, which leads to great chaos. It's up to monster Sully and his co-worker Mike to set things right and return the child safely to his own world. Today, we will recap the beloved story of the 2001 movie Monsters, Inc. The film begins with a young child lying in bed, visibly terrified and fixated on the closet door. Suddenly, a monster appears beside him, causing the boy to sit up in fear. The frightened monster then screams, stumbles and falls to the ground. Shortly after, alarms sound and lights illuminate the room, revealing that this was just a scare simulation taking place in the training facility of Monsters, Inc., the primary power company in Monstropolis. The head of the power company is Mr. Waternose, who is responsible for training new monsters to scare children. In this world, the city's power is generated from screams, and Mr. Waternose has a team of monsters whose task is to frighten kids at night and gather their screams. The company has an entire warehouse full of closet doors that can summon for any given room. These doors are transported on a hanging conveyor belt and presented to the assigned monster on the scare floor. Once the door is opened, the monster is transported to a different room in a different part of the world, ready to perform their scare tactics. However, if there are any issues with the designated room, the door is immediately destroyed. Interestingly, it turns out that the monsters are actually more afraid of human children than the children are of them. In fact, if any part of the human world happens to enter the monster world, the CDA, or Child Detection Agency, is called in to eliminate any potential threat and the monster responsible for bringing in the item from the human world. At Monsters, Inc., the top scarer is James Sullivan, who is widely recognized as the best in business. Alongside his trusted assistant Mike Wazowski, they're on the verge of breaking the record for the most screams collected. However, their efforts are threatened by the ambitious and ruthless Randall, who will stop at nothing to take the spot. One evening, Mike is in a rush to leave work as he has to meet his friend, Celia, to celebrate her birthday at a fancy restaurant which he has just reserved. In his haste, Mike forgets to complete his paperwork, prompting Sully to offer to retrieve it for him. Upon returning to the scare floor, Sully discovers it to be deserted, except for one door that remains on the floor. Out of curiosity, he peeks inside the door and finds himself in a child's empty bedroom. As Sully turns around, he accidentally thumps his tail, creating a loud noise. To his surprise, he sees a cute human girl playing with his tail, completely unafraid of him, and even finding him adorable. Despite the girl's friendly demeanor, Sully is overcome with fear and attempts to return her to her room unnoticed. Rushing out of the room with the girl in tow, Sully makes his way back to the scare floor and into the bathroom, desperate to distance himself from the human child. However, when he looks into the mirror, he realizes that the girl has somehow clung onto his back and is still with him. Sully attempts to return the girl to her room once again, but as he makes his way back to the scare floor, he comes across Randall and his assistant searching for the missing child. Frustrated that the girl is not where she should be, they send her door back to the warehouse. Determined to keep the child safe, Sully places her in a suitcase and sets off to find Mike at the restaurant. Upon arriving, he interrupts Mike and Celia's dinner and reveals the contents of the suitcase. However, to their shock, they discover that the girl has escaped, causing chaos in the restaurant as panicked monsters flee the scene. Amidst the chaos, the Child Detection Agency arrives at the restaurant, and the patrons, frightened of the girl's presence, scatter in all directions. Sully takes the girl, whom he affectionately names Boo, along with Mike, and rushes to their apartment just in time to avoid the cleansing dome that is deployed to decontaminate the area. In their attempt, they attempt to conceal Boo's presence from the outside world, but whenever she cries, the lights in the room grow brighter, drawing unwanted attention. Conversely, whenever she laughs, the lights become super bright, illuminating the room with a dazzling glow. At one point, she laughs so hard that she blows the building's fuse, causing a power outage. On the following day, Boo is disguised as a monster and is taken to the factory with the objective of locating her door and retrieving her undetected. The situation takes a turn for the worse when Randall and Fungus show up, also searching for Boo. The news about the girl's disappearance and the restaurant scandal has spread, leading them to believe they're to blame. Randall manages to convince Mike that they will find the door if they return Boo to the scream floor. Mike relays this to Sully, who has a sudden realization that Randall's offer is likely a trap. Despite Sully's warning, Mike ignores him and rushes in, jumping on Boo's bed. At that moment, a box falls from above, trapping Mike inside. Sully observes from the shadows as Randall and his assistant transport the box containing Mike to a different area of the warehouse. Down in the basement, Randall unveils his latest invention, a scream extractor, which is designed to extract screams directly from children's lungs. rendering the company's current scare tactics useless. Randall proceeds to strap Mike to the machine for experimentation, attempting to prevent him from speaking. However, Sully intervenes by unplugging the device. Sully then takes Mike and Boo, and they set out to locate Mr. Waternoose. After discovering Randall's wicked plot, Waternoose commends Sully and Mike for their bravery. However, their top priority is to return Boo safely to her home. They make their way to the scare floor, where Waternoose calls a Boo's closet door. Sully and Mike say that it is the wrong door. Mr. Waternoose says he knows. It is not the door for her, but for them. And with that, he pushes the two through a door that leads them to the snowy peaks of the Himalayas. It turns out that Waternoose has been collaborating with Randall all along. As a result, Sully and Mike are banished from Monstropolis. Sully comes up with a plan to find any child's closet in the nearest town and uses it to return to Monstropolis. Eventually, they manage to make it back to the scare floor, and Sully emerges from a door. At Randall's hideout, he and Waternoose have a heated argument over Randall's recklessness, which ultimately led to Sully's banishment. Waternoose expresses remorse for his actions. Meanwhile, Sully hurries to the secret room, where he finds Boo restrained in a chair about to go the scream extractor process. Sully destroys the machine and rescues Boo, fleeing to the scream floor in search of her door. However, Randall is hot on their heels, and they race through numerous doors, trying to find a shortcut to Boo's warehouse door. Each door they go through transports them to a different part of the world. Finally, they manage to trap Randall in a door that leads to a trailer in the bayou. The young boy in the trailer alerts his mother that there is an alligator inside, and she grabs a shovel and whacks the gator, which is actually Randall in his monster form. Waternoose chases Sully and Boo through a door that seems to lead Boo's room. Once he catches up with them, Waternoose admits that he's willing to do whatever it takes to save the company, even if it means kidnapping children. However, their conversation is interrupted by an alarm and all the lights coming on, revealing that they are not in Boo's room after all. Instead, they are in the training room that was shown at the beginning of the film, and Waternoose has just confessed his misdeeds in front of everyone. The group is stunned by Waternoose's confession, and the Child Detection Agency arrests him. As it turns out, the true mastermind behind Monsters Inc. is Rose, who has been working undercover for over 2.5 years to expose Randall and Waternoose's plot. Rose congratulates Sully and gives him the key to retrieve Boo's door. Sully, who has grown attached to Boo during their adventure, tucks her into bed, plays with some of her toys, and bids her farewell. He then returns to his own world, closing the door behind him and transforming Boo's closet door back into an ordinary closet. Unfortunately, the door is shredded, leaving Sully unable to ever visit Boo again. The following day, the workers are bidding farewell to the factory as it permanently shuts down, because scaring children is no longer effective. When Mike is reflecting on the recent events, Sully overhears him say the word laughs, which sparks an idea in his mind. He rushes back into the factory with a plan to resolve the company's energy crisis. A few days later, Mike enters a child's closet door to attempt a comedy routine, but it falls flat. After trying a few more jokes, he decides to go for his final act and swallows his microphone. He waits for a moment before burping loudly, which elicits a big laugh from the child. As Mike departs, he checks the energy output and discovers that a child's laugh has 10 times more power than a scream. The factory has been rescued and all of the employees have been reinstated. Nonetheless, Sully is still feeling downhearted because he yearns for Boo. To keep her memory close, he holds onto one of her drawings and a fragment of her door, which he keeps hidden beneath some papers on his clipboard. Mike surprises Sully by revealing that he has successfully reassembled Boo's door in the testing room, with only one missing piece left to complete it. Sully takes the final piece from his clipboard and inserts it into the door, causing the light above to brighten. He then opens the door slowly, hoping to catch a glimpse of Boo. As he peeks inside, Boo exclaims, "Kitty!" and Sully's face lights up with joy at the sight of her once again. And that's a wrap on our recap of Monsters Inc. This beloved Pixar classic has captured the hearts of audiences young and old with its clever humor, heartfelt storyline, and memorable characters. If you're a fan of Pixar movies, you won't want to miss Finding Nemo. This adventure-filled film follows a journey of a father searching for his son in the ocean. With its stunning visuals, memorable characters, and heartwarming story, Finding Nemo is sure to be another instant classic. So click this video and I'll see you there.